Hello, everybody. My name is Drew Dosek, and welcome to Trading the Close. And Trading the Close is what we're going to do today. We've got more earnings on tap, so let's jump into the charts and see those levels for those watching live. All right, so first up, looking at Rivian. Rivian here is closing the day right around 1350. Should we have a move up on the stock? First resistance area to pay attention to is 1471. Notice how I've got an inclining parallel channel right here. First area resistance, as I said, will be that parallel channel top, 1471, followed by the middle area of this larger parallel in blue at 1557. To the downside, 1209. Notice these pivots all right here will be great support for Rivian should price start falling, followed by 1145. But if I scroll back out on the chart, you can see how this Rivian chart has mainly been contained in this parallel since April of last year, and price action has attempted to get back above in the top portion of this, and it has failed every time. We'll see if earnings can help propel that stock back up a little bit higher. Into Wynn. Wynn also has earnings after the bell today. We also have Wynn in a declining trend line pattern right here, has yet to break above. Notice we've hit it 1, 2, 3 times. So now this would be the next attempt, would be the fourth attempt. Resistance here is at $87.27, followed by resistance at $90, just above there. On the downside, we do have gap fill support at $76.97. We also do have SMCI reporting earnings after the bell today. I covered those levels with you yesterday, and I also covered Palantir, something we're going to look back on today as well to see how price action reacted to those earnings. All right, for the market recap today, we had a gap down open in the morning. However, price did try to fight to get back up higher on the charts, and specifically on the SPY. We've been noticing this declining parallel channel. Well, price tried to get above the 50% area on the declining parallel on multiple occasions today and failed. And at the very end of the day, it was making a push to get up through it. And we'll see here in just a few moments if that actually did happen. All right, so into the board here, recap board, showing everything on the charts as far as the Dow Jones. You see down 0.8%, NASDAQ down 0.47%, S&P 500 down 0.57%. Oil had a nice bounce, now up 3.39%. Gold, it also had a huge move today, now up 2.66%. We'll see on the chart how the topping tail plays in a retrace in this sort of situation once we look at that chart. And on Bitcoin, Bitcoin had a mediocre day, mainly flat here at $95,000. Over on the right-hand side of the screen, with mainly all the indexes down, we should be seeing a lot of red, and that's exactly what we see. But we do have NVIDIA up, Apple's up, Google's down just slightly. Meta, as you see, pulling some of the bigger named caps down a little bit further, down 1.64%. All right, so let's get back into some charts, and I'll show you what I'm looking at regarding the spiders. All right, so the spiders today, if you recall yesterday, I had mentioned that this 50% area would be minor support. Well, price action gapped beneath that before opening today, and then today in the 10-minute, if I zoom in, you can see here, here's that dotted 50% area. So we opened here, and then, or actually, pardon me, opened here, moved up, came down, made an attempt to get above this 50% area, poked above, failed, poked above again and failed. And then here at the end of the day, you can see we were chopping right along this area and now selling off further into the close today. So where does this bring us? And if I want to recall what I mentioned yesterday, how I highlighted that there's a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern starting. Now, I want to be clear, that doesn't mean this inverse head and shoulders pattern has triggered. We don't even have a right shoulder on it yet. I'm simply conveying what the charts are telling me. Reading charts is like reading another language, and being able to spot these moves in advance is very critical for folks and traders to anticipate moves. And so this is just what the charts are showing me. So back into the charts here on the spiders, we have that left shoulder, the head, and no right shoulder, as I've said, but we do have an awful lot of support down here should price keep moving down on the spiders that could give it a chance to form that right shoulder, and still multiple steps still left to take because we have to then beat this neckline, and then we have to confirm above that neckline before we can really start thinking about that target up there at 640. Until then, this is a potential pattern that could happen, but has not formed just yet. So right now, where's the path of the spiders likely to go? Well, in the near term, The next spot is this gap fill at 554 and 54 cents, followed by support at 542 and 6 cents. But the major support area on the spiders, should we continue to sell off with earnings, is going to be down here at 533 and 73 cents. Into the SMH. Now, the SMH is, you may recall that I've said semis usually lead the way. All right. So on the daily chart, notice right up here on February 20th, we had a high pivot placed in the charts. But notice also to the left, there was also much higher price action on the SMH. If I flip back over to the spiders on February 20th, that was our high. That was our all-time high on the spiders. And so the semis were telling us, with this lower price action, being that they do lead the way, that we were likely going to be going down lower. So why I bring that up is because I'm paying attention to this pivot. Say we do get a rally and the semis continue to push up in the near to midterm. Well, this area is going to be very interesting for me to see what price action does on the semis once it gets there. Are we way up higher on the spiders? And the likelihood is yes, we would be. But again, these are steps that need to be taken. Notice we've only got about 10% to go on the spiders to get up there to that top. On the semis, since they're more volatile, we have a lot more to go, about 20%. So be paying attention to this. But ultimately, in the near term, right here is what you need to focus on. Right here in this wedge, we're running out of time for this price action. We're either going to break down or we're going to break back up. So right here, this resistance area is right at 220, and just above is another resistance area at 222.01. On the downside, should we come down further and break this support, the very next area of support is going to be this gap fill just under $200 at $198.60. Into Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as we see here, is still hovering right around this price area underneath the blue parallel channel. We did try to poke above over the weekend and has since now come back down and is trading in this area. Near term, this is a bear flag, but all of this longer term is still bullish consolidation. So we'll see which way price action goes. If we do continue lower, 88,000 to 85,000 are the first steps. And then on the upside, 100,000 is the target there too. Into gold. Now, notice gold had a tremendous day yesterday, followed up by another tremendous day today. Currently trading at 34.22 on the charts. Notice too, and I'm not sure for all those out there that know how to play topping tails, and we see here this displayed, this TT on the chart. Topping tails are great bearish signals on charts, especially if they occur at the top of the chart. And the best way to play them is not necessarily to get in right the day after you see them, because look how prices already retreated on the charts. The best way that I enjoy to play these topping tails is to wait for a 50% retrace, which, as you see right here, is $3,433. We almost accomplished that feat today. We haven't quite gotten up there yet, but we do have a 75% retrace, a little bit higher at $3,466. And this would be for a play short on gold for that price action to come back down into the $3,100 level. And if price breaks there, that basically $2,900 level will be the next area of support on gold. Into silver. Silver here, as you see, has had another big push up, mimicking gold the last 2 days of price action. But notice this too. If I draw a trend line from this pivot over to this pivot, we are just coming right up into resistance on silver. So we'll have to follow that over the next couple days to see if we do gap up and move above this area with price action trading higher, or do we start trading back down? If we do, the support area is going to be roughly $31, and then upwards resistance at $34.86. U.S. oil had a great day today. And then you could see, though, on here on Monday, we did get very close to this low pivot on the chart. This area was support and currently is support on the chart of U.S. oil and is pushing price back up. You see, though, today at the highs, we got right around $60, and that is going to be the near-term resistance that we must overcome if price action on oil is to go higher. You notice these pivots right here, and that's where price ran right up into. With this price action and the failed move, I still anticipate 53.15 to get tagged. If price action goes up, first area of resistance is going to be $62.90. Into Nat Gas. Nat Gas did retreat yesterday and also today, but look where it caught support right here on this inclining trend line. Now, this trend line doesn't have the greatest of support. It is not what I would call major support. This area was minor support, but still provided a bounce today. Should price action come underneath this, that $3.13 area still will be the first major support on natural gas. To the upside, $4.18 is the next target to be achieved. All right, now into earnings that are going to be occurring tomorrow. As you see here, it's already clicked for me there. Wednesday after the market closes. APP is a very volatile stock. We can see here on the last earnings date, closed here right around 380, reached a very high the next day around 522. So these areas presented are very conservative targets for moves should they occur after hours tomorrow with earnings. Very upward side of resistance at 335.82, and I can extend this all the way out to provide the next area of resistance should we have a mammoth move like we saw here. The next area is going to be at 435.57. On the downside, we have a collection of support trend lines right in this area, just under $250. So that area should provide very good support for APP tomorrow. So watch both of these levels followed by a crazy high move that could be a possibility up here in that 440 range. Into Carvana, also reporting after the bell tomorrow. On the upside, you can see we've gotten back into this inclining parallel channel for Carvana. It fought for several weeks trying to get back in, and over this last run, it has pushed higher into the parallel channel. So now we have resistance on the upside at 283.20 and support down on the bottom end of this parallel just under $230. Now this next chart, I want to go back into Palantir. Yesterday's show, I did go over this chart as the first chart because that chart was, I thought, the most interesting going into earnings. That price action was extended on the daily chart, moved straight up, almost into double top, but it went higher than double top. And I'm going to show you exactly why it went higher. And I had this level displayed yesterday when I went over it in this show. So into the chart we go, and we see here Palantir, as I described, this huge move up running into earnings that occurred yesterday. But if I scroll back on the chart, you see this trend line that occurs from pivot high, connected over through this most recent pivot high, and then look at the price action after hours. It was simply amazing. And this is like magic what technical analysis does. We closed the day here. Price initially went down and rocketed up all the way up to $130.05. And if I go back to the daily, you can see my resistance area was $129.51. It worked perfectly like a charm, pulling price down all the way now. You can see trading at $108.86. Well, you might ask, well, what happened with earnings? They beat. You can see down here on the screen, we've got a green E right here. They both beat on earnings per share and on revenue. But the company did say that 10% of their global sales is declining. So they have declining global sales that did worry investors. And it just shows you that investors, even after this massive move like this, which would imply that there's a lot of momentum, a lot of people really believing in the stock, they still are skating on thin ice when they're talking about a global 10% decline in sales, and then it just rocks the price of the stock, just as we see here on the chart, killing this momentum, breaking this trend line, and then now the next area of support is $95.95. Should Palantir try to muster up enough strength and move higher, anything along this inclining trend line would be resistance. As you see here, right at 118 tomorrow, following day right around 121. Very steep trend line there. All right, into AVGO. AVGO, I love watching this chart. It is a mega cap chart, so it's important to pay attention to the price movement in this stock and others like Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, Google, etc. Those big cap stocks really have a lot of weight when they move up and down in the S&P 500. So you see here on AVGO, we have a declining trend line right here. Price action is all contained in this parallel channel, but when price broke above last Thursday, this declining trend line, and it confirmed on Friday the move, that now makes this declining trend line major support should price come straight back down into it. Notice we have a gap fill right here too. So support at 192.35, but then major support down on this trend line, as you see, declining right here in this fashion over the next couple days, right around $185. Into Tesla. Tesla at one point was one of the biggest losers in the mega cap today. But as you see here, it's mainly just performing bullish consolidation. And much like AVGO, Tesla did recently break out of a declining trend line that you see located right here on the charts. We broke out, confirmed here on this day. So now that makes this declining trend line support. And then this area too is also support. But I had my moving averages on for a reason. And I wanted to show you something that's occurring today. This 20 moving average is starting to cross back over the blue 50-day moving average. That is, it's not extremely bullish, but that is a bullish sign for Tesla. If we go back on the chart and notice how where this happened too, this happened beneath price. So price over here is another great example of where the last time this occurred. And you see that price, once the yellow trend line crossed over the blue, establishing itself in its proper location above the 50, but then also the 200 is above. Price action continued moving up, but then retested and hit that 50 moving average before ultimately going up and coming back and then going higher on the charts. So we can almost anticipate something similar happening where we may have some price action moving up just slightly, but ultimately come back down, test this 50-day moving average and look for a bounce at that time. And at that time, we could be into one of these areas of support. And that would be, from what I see on the charts, a great area for potential to go long with Tesla. All right, so that wraps up a ton of information for you all. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Trading the Close. I look forward to bringing you guys some more info tomorrow, but we do have SMCI earnings taking place at 4:20 today. Excited to see if we get any movement in that stock. You guys have a great rest of the day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.